The sun hammered down on Lagos like an angry fist. Heat rose from the asphalt in shimmering waves. Car horns blared. Hawkers shouted. The city moved with its usual chaos, loud and relentless. Michael Adeyemi wiped sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. His orange and green Jumia vest clung to his chest, damp and heavy. His motorcycle idled at a red light, engine rumbling beneath him. In the delivery box strapped behind his seat were 3 packages. 2 for Lekki, 1 for Aja. He had 40 minutes to deliver them all or his rating would drop. He was 22 years old. An orphan since he was 17. He lived in a single room in Mushin where the walls were thin and the ceiling leaked when it rained. But he was grateful. Grateful for the Jumia job. Grateful for the motorcycle the company provided. Grateful that every morning he woke up with purpose. His phone buzzed. A new order notification. He glanced at the screen. Pick up for Michael Adeyemi. Deliver to Victoria Island. He swiped to accept. The light turned green. He twisted the throttle and merged into traffic. 20 minutes later, Michael pulled up to the mall. He parked his bike, grabbed the package from the dispatch center, and checked the address. Mrs. Blessing Okoro. Flat 12, Sunrise Apartments, Victoria Island. He mounted his bike again and headed toward the 3rd mainland bridge. Traffic was thick. Cars barely moved. The heat felt like it was cooking him inside his helmet. But Michael didn't complain. He had learned long ago that complaining changed nothing. Work was work, and work paid rent. As he navigated through the gridlock, his mind wandered. He thought about his parents. How his father used to carry him on his shoulders. How his mother sang while cooking. How everything ended the night their car skidded off a wet road and crashed into a tree. He shook the memory away. No time for sadness. Only forward. He finally crossed the bridge and entered Victoria Island. The roads here were cleaner. The buildings taller. The cars shinier. This was where the rich lived. The untouchable. The people who never worried about rent or food or broken ceilings. Michael turned into a side street, following his GPS. The voice on the phone said, "In 200 meters, turn right." He slowed down. Scanned the area. Then he saw something that made him brake hard. A woman. She was lying on the ground near the curb. Not sitting. Lying. Her wrapper was twisted around her legs. Her headscarf had slipped off. Her face was gray. Her eyes were half open. People walked past her. A man in a suit glanced down and kept moving. A woman pulling a child by the hand stepped over her feet without stopping. A bus conductor shouted, "Mama, shift. U-Day block road." But the woman didn't move. Michael's chest tightened. He pulled his bike to the side of the road, killed the engine, and climbed off. He approached slowly. Knelt down beside her. "Madam," he said softly. "Madam, are you okay?" Her eyes fluttered. Her lips moved but no sound came out. Her hand trembled against the ground. Michael looked around. "Please, somebody help. This woman needs help." A few people turned. Then looked away. One man shouted from across the street. "Na your mama? Leave him. She don't die finish. She's not dead." Michael snapped back. "She's breathing." A woman selling oranges nearby hissed. "Young man, mind yourself. This Lagos. You carry person problem, ego become your own problem." Michael ignored her. He leaned closer to the woman. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin was cold despite the heat. "Madam, can you hear me?" he asked gently. "What happened? Are you sick?" Her lips moved again. This time, a faint whisper escaped. "Sugar, my sugar." Michael's eyes widened. Diabetes. She was having a diabetic emergency. He didn't hesitate. He slipped his arms under her body and lifted her. She was heavier than she looked, but he held her steady. He carried her toward his bike. "Anon. Wetin this one day do?" someone shouted. "He wan carry the woman go where? Maybe he know her. Or maybe he wan kidnap her." Michael didn't respond. He carefully positioned the woman on the seat of his bike, holding her upright with one arm while he climbed on in front of her. He reached back and pulled her arms around his waist. "Hold me, madam," he said. "Hold tight." Her grip was weak, but it was there. A small crowd had gathered now. Phones came out. People started recording. See this Jumia boy? He carry woman like she be package. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Michael kicked the bike to life. The engine roared. He twisted the throttle and shot forward, leaving the laughter and the phones and the judgment behind. His heart pounded. His mind raced. Where was the nearest hospital? He remembered passing a clinic on his way here. Private. Maybe 10 minutes back. He swerved through traffic, honking, shouting, "Emergency! Emergency!" Some drivers cursed him. Others moved aside. The woman's head rested against his back. Her breathing was faint against his vest. "Hold on, madam," Michael whispered. "Just hold on." 8 minutes later, he skidded to a stop in front of Grace Memorial Clinic. He jumped off the bike, caught the woman before she could fall, and lifted her into his arms again. He kicked the glass door open with his foot. "Help! Somebody help!" he shouted. A nurse at the front desk looked up, startled. Her eyes moved from Michael's dirty Jumia vest to the unconscious woman in his arms. Her face tightened with suspicion. "Who is she?" the nurse asked coldly. "I don't know," Michael said, breathless. "I found her on the road. She said something about sugar. I think she's diabetic. Please, she needs help now." The nurse didn't move. She looked him up and down. "You don't know her, but you brought her here?" "Yes." "Please, she's dying." "Where is her family?" "Her ID." "Her hospital card." Michael's frustration exploded. "I don't have any of that. She was on the ground and nobody was helping her. I brought her here because I thought you people save lives. Was I wrong?" The nurse's face went cold. "Don't shout at me. We need payment before treatment." Michael stared at her in disbelief. "Payment? She's unconscious. That's not my problem. Bring deposit or take her somewhere else." Michael's jaw clenched. He looked down at the woman in his arms. Her face was slack. Her chest barely moved. He made a decision. "How much?" he asked. 10,000 naira deposit." Michael set the woman down gently on a bench. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wallet. Inside was 12,000 naira. His rent money. His food money. Everything he had saved for the month. He pulled out 10,000 and slapped it on the counter. "Now help her." The nurse's eyes widened slightly. She hadn't expected that. She took the money and counted it. Then she called for a doctor. 2 nurses came with a stretcher. They lifted the woman and rushed her into the emergency room. The door swung shut. Michael stood there, chest heaving, hands shaking. He had just given away everything he had. For a stranger. A woman whose name he didn't even know. He sat down on the bench and dropped his head into his hands. What had he done? 15 minutes passed. 20. 30. Michael sat in the waiting area, staring at the white tiles. His phone buzzed repeatedly. Jumia notifications. Missed deliveries. Customer complaints. His rating was dropping. He didn't care. Finally, a doctor emerged from the emergency room. A middle-aged man with tired eyes and a stethoscope around his neck. "Are you the one who brought her?" the doctor asked. Michael stood quickly. "Yes, sir." "Is she okay?" The doctor nodded. "She's stable now. It was a severe hypoglycemic episode. Her blood sugar dropped dangerously low. If you hadn't brought her when you did, she might not have made it." Michael exhaled, relief flooding through him. "Thank God." "Do you know her name?" "Her family?" the doctor asked. Michael shook his head. "No, sir. I just found her on the road." The doctor studied him for a moment. "You're a good man. Not many people would do what you did." Michael didn't know how to respond. He just nodded. "She's awake now," the doctor continued. "She's asking for you." Michael blinked. "For me?" "Yes. She wants to thank you." The doctor led Michael down a narrow hallway and into a small recovery room. The woman was sitting up in bed, and 4 drip attached to her arm. Her face had color now. Her eyes were clear. When she saw Michael, she smiled faintly. "You," she whispered. "You saved me." Michael stepped closer, suddenly shy. "I just did what anyone should do, Ma." She shook her head slowly. No. Most people walked past me. You didn't. Her voice was soft but steady. Educated. Refined. What's your name? She asked. Michael Adeyemi. Michael, she repeated as if tasting the name. Thank you, Michael. You gave me back my life. You're welcome, Ma. I'm just glad you're okay. She looked at him carefully. At his dirty vest. His worn-out shoes. His young, honest face. Do you know who I am? She asked. Michael shook his head. No, Ma. She smiled again, this time with something that looked like relief. But that makes what you did even more special. Before Michael could respond, she reached for his hand. Her grip was weak but warm. What's your phone number? She asked. Michael hesitated, then recited it. She repeated it back to him twice, committing it to memory. Don't leave yet, she said. There's someone I need to call. She asked the nurse for a phone. The nurse handed her a small mobile. The woman dialed a number from memory and pressed the phone to her ear. It rang twice. Then a deep male voice answered. Grace? Grace, is that you? The woman's eyes filled with tears. Victor. Yes, it's me. The voice on the other end broke. Oh my God. Chris, where are you? Are you okay? We've been searching everywhere. The police, the hospitals, everyone. I'm at Grace Memorial Clinic, she said, her voice trembling. Victor, I almost died. But a young man saved me. He carried me here on his bike. He used his own money to pay for my treatment. Silence. Then the man's voice came back, quieter now. Controlled. Stay there. Don't move. I'm coming right now. The call ended. The woman looked at Michael. My husband is coming. He'll want to meet you. Michael's stomach twisted. Ma, I should go. I have deliveries. Please stay, she said, her voice gentle but firm. Just a little longer. Michael nodded slowly. He didn't understand what was happening, but something told him his life was about to change. 20 minutes later, the sound of engines roared outside the clinic. Car doors slammed. Voices shouted commands. The clinic door burst open. A tall man in an expensive navy suit strode in, flanked by 4 security men in black. His face was tight with fear and relief. His eyes scanned the room like a hawk searching for prey. Where is she? He demanded. The nurse at the front desk pointed shakily toward the hallway. The man didn't wait. He moved fast, his shoes clicking sharply against the tiles. The security men followed. Michael stood frozen in the recovery room as the door flew open. The man stopped. His eyes locked onto the woman in the bed. Grace, he breathed. Victor, she replied, tears streaming down her face. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. He held her like she was made of glass. Like if he let go, she would disappear again. I thought I lost you, he whispered, his voice breaking. I thought you were gone. I'm here, she said, crying into his shoulder. I'm here. They stayed like that for a long moment. The room was silent except for the sound of her quiet sobs and his shaky breathing. Finally, Victor pulled back and looked at her face. He touched her cheek gently as if making sure she was real. What happened? He asked. Where were you? We searched everywhere. The police said. I don't remember everything, Grace said, wiping her eyes. I was walking near the market. I felt dizzy. I tried to sit down, but I collapsed. People just walked past me. I thought I was going to die on that road. Victor's jaw tightened. Anger and pain flickered across his face. But then he came, Grace continued, looking at Michael. Victor turned slowly. His eyes landed on Michael for the first time. He took in the orange and green Jumia vest. The dusty sneakers. The young, uncertain face. You? Victor asked. Michael swallowed. Yes, sir. You saved my wife? I just helped her, sir. Anyone would have. No, Victor interrupted, his voice firm. Most people didn't. You did. He walked toward Michael. Michael's heart hammered. He had no idea who this man was, but the authority in his voice, the expensive suit, the convoy outside, this was someone important. Victor extended his hand. Michael hesitated, then shook it. Victor's grip was strong. What's your name? Victor asked. Michael Adeyemi, sir. Michael. Victor held his gaze. Thank you. You gave me back the most important person in my life. Michael didn't know what to say. He just nodded. Victor turned to one of his security men. Get the doctor. I want a full report. Yes, sir. Then Victor looked back at Michael. You used your own money to pay for her treatment? Yes, sir. It was all I had. Victor's expression softened. How much? 10,000 naira, sir. Victor pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, then looked at Michael. What's your account number? Michael blinked. Sir? Your account number. I want to reimburse you. Sir, it's okay. I don't need. Michael, Victor said, his tone gentle but firm. Give me your account number. Michael recited it slowly. Victor typed it in and hit send. Michael's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and nearly dropped it. Credit alert, N500 000.00. Michael's mouth fell open. Sir, this is too much. I can't. You can, Victor said. And you will. That's not payment. That's gratitude. Michael stared at the screen. 500,000 naira. More money than he'd seen in his entire life. Tears pricked his eyes. He blinked them back. Thank you, sir, he whispered. Victor placed a hand on his shoulder. No, Michael. Thank you. Just then, the door opened again. A woman walked in. Tall, elegant, wearing a cream-colored dress and expensive jewelry. Her face was beautiful but cold. Her eyes swept the room and landed on Grace. Grace, she said, rushing forward. Oh my God, you're alive. Grace smiled weakly. Patricia. Yes, I'm okay. Patricia hugged her briefly, then stepped back and looked at Victor. I came as soon as I heard. The whole company has been in chaos. Everyone was so worried. Victor nodded. Thank you for coming. Patricia's eyes shifted to Michael. She looked him up and down slowly. Her expression changed. Suspicion flickered across her face. Who is this? She asked, her tone sharp. This is Michael, Victor said. He saved Grace's life. Patricia's eyebrows lifted. Really? She looked at Michael again, her gaze calculating. How convenient. Michael frowned. Ma. Patricia crossed her arms. You just happened to find her? On the side of the road? And you just happened to bring her here? Michael's stomach tightened. That's what happened. Patricia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Victor, don't you think it's strange? A random Jumia delivery boy just happens to save your wife right when everyone is searching for her. Victor's face hardened. Patricia, what are you implying? I'm not implying anything, Patricia said smoothly. I'm just saying we should be careful. What if this was staged? What if he was part of the plan? Michael's blood went cold. Ma, I didn't. Patricia, stop, Grace said from the bed, her voice weak but firm. Michael saved me. He didn't hurt me. He helped me. Patricia turned to her. Grace, you were confused. You almost died. Maybe you don't remember clearly. I remember perfectly, Grace said, her eyes sharp now. And I remember you weren't there when I needed help. He was. The room went silent. Patricia's face flushed. I was trying to help search for you. Were you? Grace asked quietly. The tension in the room was thick. Victor stepped forward. Patricia, I appreciate your concern. But Grace is right. Michael saved her. End of discussion. Patricia's lips pressed into a thin line. She nodded stiffly. Of course. I'm sorry. I was just worried. She glanced at Michael one more time, her eyes cold, then turned and walked out of the room. Michael exhaled slowly. Victor looked at him apologetically. I'm sorry about that. Patricia means well. She's just protective. Michael nodded, but something in his gut told him Patricia's suspicion wasn't concern. It was something else. Something darker. Victor turned back to Grace. We're taking you home now. The doctor said you're stable enough to travel. Grace nodded. She looked at Michael. Will you come with us? Michael's eyes widened. Ma, please, Grace said. I want to thank you properly. And I want you to see that your kindness didn't go unnoticed. Michael looked at Victor, unsure. Victor smiled. She's right. Come with us. Just for a little while. Michael hesitated. Then he nodded. Okay. They helped Grace into a wheelchair and rolled her outside. The sunlight hit them like a wave. Michael's eyes widened. 3 black SUVs were parked in front of the clinic. Tinted windows. Chrome rims. Security men in suits standing at attention. A small crowd had gathered on the street, staring. Victor helped Grace into the middle SUV. Then he turned to Michael. Ride with us. Michael climbed into the back seat. The leather was soft. The air conditioning was cold. Everything smelled new and expensive. The convoy pulled out, engines rumbling in sync. As they drove through Lagos, Michael stared out the window. His mind raced. Who were these people? How rich were they? He glanced at Victor, who was holding Grace's hand gently, whispering to her. Finally, Michael worked up the courage to ask. Sir, if you don't mind, what do you do? Victor looked at him and smiled. I run a tech company. Technova Solutions. We build software for banks and telecoms across West Africa. Michael's heart skipped. Technova. He'd heard that name before. It was everywhere. On billboards. On TV. One of the biggest companies in Nigeria. And he was sitting in the car with the CEO. His hands started to shake. 20 minutes later, the convoy turned into a gated estate. The kind with tall walls, security booths, and manicured lawns. The gates opened slowly, and they drove through. Michael's jaw dropped. The houses here were massive. Glass walls. Fountains. Gardens that looked like they belonged in magazines. They pulled up to the biggest house on the block. White pillars. A circular driveway. A fountain in the center with water sparkling in the sun. Victor helped Grace out of the car. Staff members rushed forward, maids in uniforms, a man in a white coat who looked like a private doctor. Take her inside, Victor instructed. Make sure she rests. They led Grace toward the house. She looked back at Michael and smiled. Don't leave. Michael nodded. Victor turned to him. Let's talk. They walked into the house. Michael's eyes widened. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Paintings on the walls that looked older than time. Victor led him to a sitting room with leather couches and a view of the garden. Sit, Victor said. Michael sat carefully, afraid to stain anything. Victor poured 2 glasses of water from a crystal pitcher and handed one to Michael. Thank you, sir, Michael said, his voice small. Victor sat across from him, studying him carefully. Tell me about yourself, Michael, Victor said. Where do you live? What do you do? Michael swallowed. I live in Mushin, sir. 1 room. I work for Jumia. I've been delivering packages for 2 years now. Your family? Michael's chest tightened. I'm an orphan, sir. My parents died when I was 17. I've been on my own since then. Victor's face softened. I'm sorry. It's okay, sir. I've learned to manage. Victor leaned forward. Michael, what you did today, most people wouldn't have done it. You risked your job. You used your own money. You didn't even know who my wife was. You just helped because it was right. Michael nodded slowly. My parents taught me that, sir. They said never walk past someone who needs help. Victor smiled. They raised a good man. Thank you, sir. Victor stood and walked to the window, looking out at the garden. I want to offer you something, Michael, he said, his back still turned. Michael's heart raced. Sir? Victor turned around. With me. Michael's mouth fell open. Sir? I need someone I can trust, Victor said. Someone with integrity. Someone who doesn't just see opportunities but sees people. You've proven you're that person. Sir, I don't have a degree. I didn't finish university. I'm just a delivery. You're not just anything, Victor interrupted firmly. You're someone who saved my wife's life. That's worth more than any degree. Michael's eyes filled with tears. He blinked them back quickly. What would I do, sir? He asked. You'll start as my personal assistant, Victor said. You'll help coordinate my schedule, handle logistics, travel with me when needed. I'll train you. And if you prove yourself, which I believe you will, I'll sponsor your education. You can go back to school. Finish your degree. Build a real career. Michael couldn't breathe. This couldn't be real. Sir, I don't know what to say. Victor smiled. Say yes. Michael wiped his eyes. Yes, sir. Thank you. Victor walked over and extended his hand. Michael stood and shook it. Welcome to the family, Michael, Victor said. And for the first time in 5 years, Michael felt like he had one. 3 months had passed since the day Michael saved Grace's life. 3 months since his entire world had shifted from dusty streets and late rent to marble floors and possibility. He now lived in the boys' quarters behind Victor's mansion. A clean room with a soft bed, a desk, and a window that overlooked the garden. Every morning, he woke up to the smell of fresh flowers and the sound of birds singing. It still felt like a dream. Michael had thrown himself into his work. He coordinated Victor's meetings, managed his calendar, prepared documents for board presentations, and traveled with him to business events. Victor was patient, teaching him everything. How to speak in meetings. How to read financial reports. How to carry himself with confidence. And every evening, Grace would call Michael to the main house for dinner. She treated him like a son. She asked about his day. She laughed at his jokes. She reminded him to rest. You work too hard, she would say, pouring him more juice. Even Victor doesn't work this hard. Michael would smile. I'm just grateful, Ma. I don't want to waste this opportunity. You're not wasting anything, Grace would reply gently. You're building something. And we're proud of you. But not everyone was happy about Michael's rise. Patricia Nwosu was Victor's business partner. She had been with Technova since the beginning, back when it was just Victor and 2 laptops in a cramped office. She was brilliant, sharp, and ambitious. She was also beautiful and knew it. For years, Patricia had quietly believed that one day, Victor would see her as more than a partner. That one day, Grace would fade into the background, and Patricia would step into the light as the woman beside him. But Grace never faded. And Victor never looked at Patricia the way she wanted him to. And now, there was Michael. Taking up space in Victor's life. In Grace's heart. In the family Patricia had always wanted to be part of. She hated him for it. One afternoon, Michael was in Victor's office, organizing files for an upcoming investor meeting. The door opened, and Patricia walked in. She wore a tailored black dress and red heels. Her perfume filled the room. Michael, she said, her voice smooth. Michael looked up. Good afternoon, Ma. Where's Victor? He's in a conference call, Ma. He should be done in 30 minutes. Patricia nodded slowly, her eyes scanning the desk. You've been busy. Just preparing for tomorrow's presentation. She walked closer, heels clicking against the floor. She leaned against the desk, looking down at him. You've come a long way, haven't you? She said. From delivering packages to working in a billionaire's office. Michael smiled politely. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, Ma. I'm sure you are. Her tone was pleasant, but her eyes were cold. Tell me, Michael, do you ever wonder why Victor trusts you so much? Michael frowned slightly. I try to work hard and be honest, Ma. Patricia laughed softly. That's sweet. But Victor is a businessman. He doesn't trust people just because they're nice. He trusts people who are useful. Michael didn't respond. Just make sure, Patricia continued, that you remain useful. Because the moment you're not. She snapped her fingers. You're back to Mushin. Michael's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice calm. I understand, Ma. Patricia smiled and walked toward the door. She paused and looked back. Oh, and Michael? Be careful around Grace. She's fragile. Victor is very protective of her. If anything happens to her while you're around, people will ask questions. Before Michael could respond, she left. Michael sat there, his chest tight. He didn't understand why Patricia disliked him so much. He had never done anything to her. But he could feel it. The hostility. The suspicion. The way she watched him like a predator watching prey. That evening, Michael joined Victor and Grace for dinner in the main house. The dining room was warm and bright. The table was set with fine china and fresh flowers. Grace was in a cheerful mood. Michael, I have good news. Michael looked up. What is it, Ma? Victor and I discussed it, she said, glancing at her husband. We want to sponsor your university education. Fully. Tuition, books, accommodation, everything. Michael's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Ma. Victor smiled. You've proven yourself, Michael. You're smart, disciplined, and hardworking. You deserve a proper education. We're enrolling you at the University of Lagos. You'll study business administration. Michael's eyes filled with tears. He set down his fork and covered his face with his hands. Grace reached across the table and touched his arm. Don't cry, dear. You've earned this. I don't know how to thank you, Michael whispered, his voice breaking. You've given me everything. A job. A home. A future. I don't deserve. You deserve all of it, Victor said firmly. And more. Michael wiped his eyes and looked at them both. I promise I won't let you down. We know, Grace said, smiling warmly. But from the hallway, hidden in the shadows, Patricia stood listening. Her hands were clenched into fists. Her face was twisted with jealousy and rage. They were giving him everything. Education. Opportunity. Everything she had worked for. Everything she had sacrificed for. And they were giving it to a nobody. A street boy. A delivery rider who got lucky. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number. It rang twice before someone answered. It's me, Patricia said quietly. We need to move faster. He's getting too close to them. A low voice responded. What do you want me to do? Patricia's eyes were cold. Make him disappear. 2 weeks later, Michael started classes at the University of Lagos. He attended lectures in the morning and worked for Victor in the afternoons. It was exhausting, but he loved every moment. He was building a life. A real life. One evening, after a long day, Michael returned to his room in the boys' quarters. He showered, changed into comfortable clothes, and sat at his desk to study. A knock came at the door. Come in, Michael called. The door opened. It was Ibrahim, Victor's driver. A kind older man who had worked for the family for 15 years. Michael, Oga Victor wants see you for main house, Ibrahim said. Now? Michael asked, glancing at the clock. It was almost 9 p.m. Yes. He say make you come sharp. Michael closed his book and followed Ibrahim to the main house. The living room lights were on, but the house was unusually quiet. Victor was standing near the window, his back turned. His posture was stiff, tense. Sir, you called for me? Michael said. Victor turned slowly. His face was hard. Unreadable. Sit down, Michael. Michael sat, his heart beginning to race. Something was wrong. Victor walked to the center of the room and stood in front of him. I need to ask you something. And I need you to be completely honest with me. Of course, sir, Michael said, confused. Victor's eyes bored into him. Have you been stealing from me? Michael's world stopped. What? Answer the question, Victor said, his voice cold. No, sir. Never. I would never. Then how do you explain this? Victor pulled out his phone and showed Michael a bank statement. Highlighted in yellow were 3 transactions. Large sums of money. Transferred to an account. Michael's account. Michael's mouth fell open. Sir, I didn't do that. I don't know where that money came from. I never. N2 million, Michael, Victor interrupted, his voice rising. N2 million transferred from my company account into yours over the past 2 weeks. And you're telling me you don't know anything about it? I swear, sir, I didn't take that money. I don't know how it got there. Victor stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned away, running a hand through his hair. I trusted you, Victor said quietly. I brought you into my home. I gave you a job. I'm paying for your education. And this is how you repay me. Sir, please, Michael stood, his voice desperate. I didn't do this. Someone is setting me up. Who? Victor demanded, spinning around. Who would set you up? Michael opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have proof. Only suspicion. Before he could respond, the door opened. Patricia walked in, her face a perfect mask of concern. "Victor, I came as soon as I heard," she said. "Is it true? Did he really steal from the company?" Victor didn't answer. He just stared at Michael. Patricia walked closer, her eyes on Michael. "I warned you, didn't I? I told you people like him can't be trusted." "Patricia, not now," Victor said tightly. "I'm just saying what everyone is thinking," Patricia continued. "He came from nothing. You gave him everything. And now he's stealing from you. It's a classic story." "I didn't steal anything," Michael shouted, his voice breaking. Patricia raised an eyebrow. "Then where did the money come from?" "I don't know." "Convenient," Patricia said coldly. Victor turned to Michael, his face filled with pain and anger. "I want you out of this house tonight." Michael felt like he'd been punched in the chest. "Sir, please." "Tonight, Michael. Pack your things and leave." "Sir, just give me time to prove my innocence. Please. Just a few days." "I said leave." Victor's voice thundered through the room. Michael stared at him, tears streaming down his face. Then he turned and walked out. He returned to his room in the boys' quarters, his legs shaking. He sat on the bed and dropped his head into his hands. How had this happened? Who had done this to him? And then it hit him. Patricia. She had access to the company accounts. She had the skills. And she had the motive. But how could he prove it? Michael grabbed his phone and called the one person who might still believe him. The phone rang. Twice. Then her gentle voice answered. "Michael." "Ma," Michael's voice cracked. "Ma, please. I didn't steal. I swear to you, I would never betray you or Sir. Please, you have to believe me." There was a long silence. Then Grace spoke, her voice steady. "I believe you." Michael's breath caught. "You do?" "Yes. I know your heart, Michael. You're not a thief." "Then please, help me. Sir told me to leave tonight. I don't know what to do." "Stay where you are," Grace said firmly. "Don't leave. I'll handle this." The call ended. Michael sat in the dark, hoping, praying that Grace could fix this. 30 minutes later, there was a knock on his door. Michael opened it. It was Grace. She was wearing a simple wrapper and blouse, her face serious. "Ma, you shouldn't have come out. You need to rest." "Come with me," Grace said. Michael followed her to the main house. When they entered the living room, Victor was still there. His face was tight with frustration. "Grace, what are you doing?" Victor asked. "We need to talk," Grace said calmly. She turned to Michael. "Tell me everything. From the beginning. When did you first notice Patricia acting strange?" Michael hesitated, then told her. The cold looks. The veiled threats. The way Patricia watched him like she wanted him gone. Grace listened carefully. Then she turned to Victor. "Call your IT team," she said. "Now." Victor frowned. "Why?" "Because I think someone hacked the company account and framed Michael. And I think I know who." Victor pulled out his phone and made the call. Within 20 minutes, 2 IT specialists arrived at the house with laptops. Grace directed them. "I want you to trace every transaction made from the company account in the last month. Check the IP addresses. Check the device IDs. Find out where those transfers really came from." The IT team worked quickly, fingers flying across keyboards. Michael stood to the side, barely breathing. After 15 minutes, one of them looked up. "Sir," he said slowly, "the transfers didn't come from Michael's device." Victor stepped forward. "Then where?" "They came from an admin account. Registered to—" He paused, checking again. "Patricia Nwosu." The room went silent. Victor's face turned to stone. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. The IP address matches her home network. The device ID matches her laptop. She made the transfers and routed them to look like they came from Michael's account." Victor's hands clenched into fists. His jaw tightened. Grace placed a hand on his arm. "Call her." Victor pulled out his phone and dialed. Pring. Then Patricia's voice came through, smooth and unbothered. "Victor? Is everything okay?" "Come to my house," Victor said, his voice cold. "Now." "It's late." "Now, Patricia." The call ended. 20 minutes later, Patricia arrived. She walked into the living room with a confident smile. But when she saw Michael still there, her smile faltered. "Victor, what's going on?" she asked carefully. Victor didn't answer. He just nodded to the IT specialist. The man turned his laptop screen toward her. "Ma, can you explain why these transactions came from your account?" Patricia's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie," Victor said, his voice like ice. "We have the evidence. You stole from my company and framed Michael." Patricia's mask cracked. Her eyes darted between Victor and Grace. Then she laughed bitterly. "Fine. I did it." She turned to Michael, her face twisted with hate. "You don't deserve any of this. You're nobody. A street rat who got lucky." "Patricia," Grace said quietly. "Why?" Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Not of sadness. Of rage. "Because I've given 15 years to this company," she shouted. 15 years of my life. I built Technova with Victor. I sacrificed everything. And what did I get? A title. A salary. While he went home to you every night. Grace's face softened with understanding. "You're in love with him." "Of course I am." Patricia screamed. "I've loved him for years. But he never saw me. He only saw you. Perfect Grace. Sweet Grace. And now you're giving everything to this nobody." Victor stepped forward, his voice firm but not cruel. "Patricia, I'm sorry if I ever made you feel unseen. But I never gave you false hope. I've always been clear about my marriage. About my family." Patricia wiped her eyes angrily. "It doesn't matter anymore. I'm done." "Yes," Victor said quietly. "You are. You're fired. And I'm pressing charges." Patricia's face crumbled. "Victor." "Leave my house," Victor said. "Now." Security escorted Patricia out. She didn't fight. She just walked, shoulders shaking, heels clicking one last time across the marble floor. When she was gone, Victor turned to Michael. His face was filled with regret. "Michael, I'm sorry. I should have trusted you. I should have listened before I judged." Michael's eyes filled with tears. "It's okay, sir. I understand." "No," Victor said firmly. "It's not okay. I failed you. And I'm sorry." Grace walked over and hugged Michael. "You're still family. That hasn't changed." Michael held her, crying quietly into her shoulder. 6 months later, Michael stood in the living room of Victor's mansion, but this time he wasn't alone. Beside him was a young woman. Beautiful, elegant. Her name was Sarah, Victor's younger sister, who had returned from studying abroad. They had met 3 months ago at a family dinner. Sarah was kind, smart, and had a laugh that made Michael forget his worries. They had fallen in love slowly, naturally. And Victor and Grace had watched with joy. Now, Sarah's hand was in Michael's. And Victor stood before them, smiling. "I never thought the man who saved my wife's life would also become my brother-in-law," Victor said, his voice warm with emotion. Grace wiped tears from her eyes. "I always knew you were family, Michael. Now it's official." The small gathering clapped. "Friends, family." Michael looked at Sarah, who smiled back at him with all the love in the world. And he realized something. His life had changed not because of luck, but because of one choice. The choice to stop, to help, to care. The choice to be kind when the world walked past. And that choice had given him everything. A family, a future, a love story. As the celebration continued, Michael stepped outside into the garden. The stars were bright above Lagos. The air was warm. The city hummed in the distance. He closed his eyes and whispered a prayer of thanks. For his parents, who taught him kindness. For Grace, who saw his heart. For Victor, who gave him a chance. And for Sarah, who gave him love. When he opened his eyes, Sarah was standing beside him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked softly. Michael smiled. How one choice changed everything. Sarah took his hand. "Then I'm glad you made it." They stood together under the stars, two souls brought together by kindness, and destined to build a life filled with love. And far away, in a small apartment, Patricia sat alone. Her career was gone. Her reputation destroyed. Her love unreturned. She had chosen bitterness, jealousy, revenge. And she had lost everything. Because in the end, the choice was always simple. Kindness or cruelty, love or hate, light or darkness. And Michael had chosen light. One act of kindness can change a life. One choice to help can open doors you never imagined. Never walk past someone in need. You never know whose life you might save, or how it might save yours. Subscribe if you believe kindness is never wasted. Comment, help others if people who ignore those in need disgust you. Share this story if you've ever been helped by a stranger and want to remind the world that good people still exist.